selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sacramento, she's selling Sacramento, she's selling Sacramento, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Selling Sacramento, she's selling Sacramento, she's selling Sacramento, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent T, is selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent T, she's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Agent Key, selling Sacramento. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. She's selling Sacramento. Oh yeah. Agent Key, yeah, Selling Sacramento.
Hey, everybody out there watching. You've got Payton with us. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Boyea.
Boyea. Payton and his flossy last name. Yeah. I'm trying to get you in here closer. Back up a little bit. Oh, I saw that happen. Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key and we are Selling Sacramento. Want to tell you about a few things happening Before we get started with today's show, tomorrow is May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and the big day of giving. So, if you did not know, KDEE 97.5 FM is listener supported. We rely on your support to keep this station going, to keep the R&B old school sound and all of the information that you love on the air. So if you get an opportunity or just make an opportunity, come by. Our street team will be here at 1600 Sacramento N Way. Stop by, say hello, drop off your gift, your blessing between the hours of 10:30 a.m. tomorrow and 6 p.m. Again, the address is at 1600 Sacramento N Way, right here at the California Black Chamber of Commerce, and we appreciate that. Also happening, NAN Sacramento Moving Forward Conference. Let's talk Black education with Dr. Margaret Fortune, y'all. She's got a live podcast with ESPN at ESPN 1320 Radio. Her special guest is Pittsburgh Steeler safety Robert Golden. She will be speaking with him. That's Friday, May 6th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Our very own Dr. Margaret Fortune will be interviewing ex-Pittsburgh Steelers safety Robert Golden on May 6th. And then also part of that Sacramento Moving Forward Conference, Session 2, is the What Black Voters Think virtual panel. That will be held May 6th as well at 3:45 p.m. These are virtual events and or in person. The events are free. Register online at nansacramento.org. NAN, N as in Nancy, A as in Alice, N as in Nancy, sacramento.org. And I feel like there was one more thing that I needed to tell y'all about. It will come to me. Anyway, let's get started on our show today. Get your financial house in order. If you are watching us online, you see that I have a very special guest with me here today. And if you have any questions for our guest, please feel free to go online, locate our show on YouTube, Facebook, my personal page, or Selling Sacramento on the radio. Join the conversation and ask away, because we want to help you get your financial house in order. My special guest today is Mr. Payton Boyea.
You got that right. Hey, that was some great enunciation.
Thank you. And I want to introduce you all to him because he is a fully licensed investment advisor representative with Holmes Financial, Berthel Fisher and Company, where he specializes in retirement planning and wealth management. Payton holds his Financial Consulting Series 66 license, as well as his Stockbroker Series 7 license, along with his California Life and Health licenses. That is great. He is married with 2 children. He's active in his community of Elk Grove. Okay, right. All right. Where he serves as a men's Bible study leader and a youth soccer coach. And a fun fact about Payton, he was formerly a nationally ranked amateur boxer. Wow, that's amazing. Also, I want to let you know that he is the host of Millennials and Money Podcast. The Millennials and Money Podcast, you can find that on iTunes and the Google Play Store. So, Payton, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I think it's awesome what you're doing here, helping people get their financial house in order.
And I think it's awesome that you've got so much that you've done educating yourself and putting yourself in the position to be able to give back to the community, to take the time to get the credentials that you have and to now be able to share that with us. That's really needed, don't you think?
I definitely do. It's kind of the whole reason why I got in this industry, is to help people like me, help people like my family and my friends who I've seen go through some things they didn't have they had the right advice around them.
And let's talk really quickly before we dive into the discussion about the Millennials and Money Podcast. What is that all about? That sounds like that's pretty fun.
So check that out. That's my podcast. I started hosting that thing in 2020, part of the pandemic.
Okay.
I was like, I got to talk to people. I can't do it in person. How can I do it? And really the motivation behind that podcast is, and what I do retirement planning is where the bulk of our clients are.
Yeah.
But there's young people like me who are building businesses, who are earning income. They might not have a lot of assets to manage at the moment, but they can still benefit from financial advice.
Right.
And I found the best way for me to learn is hearing stories.
Yeah.
So on my podcast, I invite guests on. I just have them share their money story, and it's been a lot of fun. It's like a passion project of mine.
That's good, because even though millennials may not be in a position financially they're not looking at retiring immediately, just needing to know how to plan, how to strategize will help them make better decisions, don't you think? With, I know I struggled myself in my, when right after I got out of high school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
That's it. It's what you want to do, and it can realistically sustain you, and how to go about building it. And that's kind of what the stories motivate my listeners to hear.
Because even if you start saving at a young age, even if you're in a job that may not be your lifelong job, right? You can still start saving. You can still start investing. Are you recommending that to the young folks?
You can start saving, start investing. Compounding interest.
It's
a beautiful thing, and it does. I always talk to clients like, it doesn't take that much to get what you want when you have sat down and really figure out what it is you want.
Right.
People spend their money because they don't give their money a purpose.
Right.
But when their spending's aligned with their values, you don't need too much money, and you can really enjoy your career, something you're passionate about, and still work towards the future.
And to your point, you just said, if you know what you're investing in, if you have a plan. So I think that a lot of young folks, and I'm just thinking of back in the day, a minute ago, when I was in my early 20s, a lot of what I saw was what I wanted, not necessarily what I was told how to direct my money.
Exactly. Right? And even it's not even necessarily what you want, it's what you think you want a lot.
Right.
And that's because people never sit down and say, what is it that I really value?
Yeah.
When you align your spending with the values, you're happy. Life is better.
Right. And then to the point of values, as a young person, I'm just saying as a young person because I'm thinking about that compound interest magic. A lot of people who are in their 20s can really benefit 10, 20 years from now if they take a deep dive into their values versus trying to keep up with the Joneses. Would you agree?
Exactly. You take a deep dive into values, figure out what it is that matters to you, and start purposing your money towards that. You find that it doesn't take a lot of money to live a happy lifestyle. And when you're not using a lot of money, then it frees you up to invest and save a lot more.
Are you encouraging folks on that show to be preparing for home ownership? Are you encouraging them? What kind of conversations are y'all having?
It's really just talking about people's stories. A lot of times we touch on home ownership a lot. I'm big on home ownership. I'm big on, paying yourself, investing in a asset that's appreciating as opposed to paying someone else's mortgage. So,
liabilities.
I'm big on that.
Awesome. Well, I want to dive into this discussion. That is part of the discussion. So you guys check out his podcast, Millennials and Money. Check Payton's podcast out. So tell us how you came into the industry.
Okay, let me get there. First, let me say a few disclosures.
Oh.
These are mandatory. So like he said, I'm an investment advisor representative I'm sorry, let me start over. I'm a registered investment advisor representative of securities offered through Berthel Fisher and Company Financial Services, Inc., BFCFS. Member FINRA SIPC. Holmes Financial is independent of BFCFS.
He had to get that out the way, y'all, or else they would come back and tell us to take this whole podcast and video and radio show down. So thank you for sharing that. Now tell us how you got into the industry.
So let me tell you, it was all a God thing. God's led me here. It's 2016. I got married. I just retired a boxing career. I thought that's what I was going to do my whole life. It didn't. God had other plans. So I started figuring out, what am I going to do with my life? what are some things that I enjoy?
Yeah.
And I realized I really like helping people and I like numbers. I wasn't the greatest student, but math was always like that to me.
Nice.
And I was good at planning for things when I applied myself. So I thought about, you know what? I Googled, get this, I got on Google, jobs for people that like helping people. Number one, financial advisor. Okay, well, how do I become a financial advisor? I don't have any experience in this. Albeit my dad was and is still an investment banker. So he had some financial background. He serves on the board at my church, Calvary Christian Center. Shout out to Calvary.
Calvary.
And someone came in there representing a Fortune 500 company looking for advisors. They interviewed me, maybe 2-month long interview process. They offered me the position. From there, I got securities license. And I've been running ever since. I started with that company, started doing well there. But I wasn't serving my client. I wasn't serving my people who I felt I could create the most value to. So I knew if I wanted to serve that market, I had to go independent. Throughout my tenure at the company, I ran into my mentor at the time, Les Holmes. Shout out to Les Holmes with Holmes Financial. And he's a brother like me. He knows how hard it is for someone like us in this industry. So he started mentoring me just to help me be successful there.
You've got an excellent mentor. Excellent mentor.
I really do. And throughout that time, he was mentoring me. My career at that company started growing. And I thought to myself, if I could be this successful here, how much more successful could I be when we work with less? So I asked him about hiring me. He said the Spirit of God had said, if it's meant for us to work together, I'd ask him. And I asked him.
Wow. That brother walks with the Lord. Let me tell you. So that is an amazing testimony. I appreciate that too, because oftentimes we get in positions as people of color where they are making a lot of money, but not necessarily fulfilling.
Exactly.
And sometimes we don't have the courage to move towards the pull, if that makes sense.
You said it.
So I appreciate you for having the courage to move toward the pull. Otherwise, you would not be here with us today. So thank you. So as a registered investment advisor, what exactly do you do?
So I like to say I focus on retirement planning, wealth management, and what that means is comprehensive financial planning. Now that term you might hear a lot, comprehensive financial planning, and
it's a fancy word. Break it down.
It sounds nice, and everybody has their own definition of it as a planner, or at least they should. In my mind, that's a plan that encompasses the 4 areas of financial planning, meaning portfolio enhancement. That's what everyone thinks when they think about investment advisor, estate planning, tax strategies, and budgeting, or cash flow analysis. I like to call it a money purpose plan.
All of that.
That's
it. Those are the big 4.
That's it. That's the big 4.
Awesome. So of these areas, which one are you here to talk about today?
Okay, so I know today I don't have too much time. I'd love to cover them all, but I like to start talking about what I've been dealing with the most lately, and that's estate planning.
Okay.
And I feel that's so important. It's estate planning in a whole is taking what you've worked hard and earned and provided for your lifestyle and transferring it to your areas in an efficient manner. And that's kind of what I do. One of the reasons I'm really focusing on that lately is my grandfather was throughout the past 2.5 years, I've lost 3 grandparents.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had 3 grandparents my whole life, and I went from 3 to 0 in a year and a half. It was just
devastating.
It was devastating. But when my grandfather passed, he left quite an estate to us, to his daughters, my mom and her sisters, and it was all through planning. He wasn't a millionaire. He didn't make a ton of money. He retired from the military in 20 years. He was born in Alabama. Being black, born at that time, it wasn't where you wanted to be.
Yeah, we had it harder than we have it now.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as he got 18, he enlisted in the military and got out of Alabama. Retired for the military 20 years. Went to work for Boyea in Washington.
Wow.
Where he raised my mom and he retired from Boyea as an electrician. So he wasn't doing any career where he made a ton of money.
Blue collar worker.
But what he did do was he worked with a planner early. He began to work with an investment advisor very early. He left my mom and her sisters combined. He left them two homes for no mortgage,
Wow.
a property, and upwards of 300,000
In
in
cash for
assets.
insurance.
And it's just these weren't investment accounts. This wasn't even insurance.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
so
was just money in the bank.
this was money and investment.
Oh,
Investment
wow.
accounts.
Wow.
So he did a good job, and I'm just so glad to be able to carry on his legacy.
Right. That is amazing because when you think about, you said he's from Alabama. We have a lot of everybody. We all have family
He
from the
is born
South.
in Alabama. He represents Mississippi, though.
Well, okay, see
Don't-
that leg.
Don't get it twisted. Meridian, Mississippi.
And people from Mississippi are proud when
That's
they say,
right.
I ain't from Alabama, I'm from Mississippi. And there's something to be said about being from either place, though, especially during those times, because the struggle was harder. The struggle was real. And so for him to be able to have left that type of financial legacy for your family is huge.
It is. It really is.
Mm-hmm. And it's an honor for you. How are you carrying that? How are you, when you think about that, like, what does the weight feel like?
First and foremost, it's such an honor that God put me here to be in a position to help my family, to help my aunties, to help my mom. Like, it's a lot of money, and they might not necessarily have known what to do, but they got a planner in the family. God has perfect timing.
Right.
My mom tells me, I know you're here for a reason at this career, because I'm able to be that guy for my family. Help, hey, listen, put these assets here. What's most important to you? Is it protection? Is it growth? Is it future planning? And let's align these assets in a way where they're going to serve that purpose. So it's been it's honestly been a blessing to be in a position like this. When I retired from boxing, I thought, there's nothing I could do that will fulfill me like fighting did. But this took me way above and beyond that.
Wow. And that's a blessing too, because there are different phases in our lives, and sometimes we think that we're doing one thing, and as it's coming to an end, we start thinking that was it. Like, oh, we're not going to be able to find the next best thing. But then God says, oh, got something else for you.
And that's what I've come to realize, is that a purpose is when God might give you passions, but a passion you can outlive. A purpose you'll be serving into your whole life. And I truly think I found my purpose.
Look, amen. Will there be one? We're going to take a break, and I was planning to take a break and then let Payton go, y'all, but I need to, if Payton will stay for a few minutes more, I want to finish this discussion. We just now getting into it.
Well, go ahead. Well, look, baby.
Okay, you guys. So right now what's happening is my engineer, y'all know him. Y'all know I adore him and love him. Dosty. He's giving me cues. I'm going to go ahead and take the break because it's just a natural break and it's the right thing to do. But when we come back from the break, we're going to hear some more from Payton. It's going to give me an opportunity to check and see if anybody's been commenting. It's going to give an opportunity for us to just gather ourselves. All right, you're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. And I don't see any comments in the chat, but I see some of y'all are watching. If you have questions for Payton, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will ask them over the air and have him answer them over the air for you. And I want to make sure I get into what you want me to discuss. So we've only been through the first page. We're going to talk about generational wealth when we come back from the break, generational wealth building. And then you talked about your grandpa, and then advice for someone to create generational wealth.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then we'll let you go. I won't hold you hostage.
I don't mind being here. I'm having a lot of fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And I like the flow of the conversation. When I first started this show, I am now understanding that it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
When I first started, I think I was like a car salesman. It was crazy. It was scripted, and things flow better when they're not scripted.
Exactly.
And so I think that's why, because I can hear that you've got some serious testimony going on in here.
I can't help it. Yeah.
And so I
always say,
sure
put me in the microphone, I'm talking about God. You put me in front of the microphone, I'm going to talk about
That's what happens all in this space. So you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
I got to make sure I get another disclosure out when I get back on.
Okay. All right. Let's see, what is Larry asking? Are deferred compensation programs good to join? So don't answer right now. Larry, we're going to answer that when we come back from the break.
See how good you are.
Stay tuned in, sir. Any other questions? Y'all put them up there in the chat. We're going to have Payton answer them live on the air. Think them up. What y'all got? Now's the time. That air feels so good. We were talking about how, what's the word? But the global warming
Global warming, yeah.
is real because, well, so here's what made me realize it. I was telling Payton that I had been watching the weather report over the past week and knew that it was going to be really warm today. And that usually, like every 6 months, I go to my closet and I look through to see what did I not wear the 6 months prior so that I can give it away. Because, you just start accumulating otherwise. Yeah. So I went to my closet just a couple weekends ago and I'm like, wait, I didn't wear any of these sweaters, but I like them all. Why did I not wear the sweaters?
Because of the weather.
There was no weather to wear the sweaters. That was scary.
No, man. Sacramento's changed so much since we came here. 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. Today's topic, how to get your financial house in order. We are here with Mr. Payton Boyea, and Payton is an investment advisor representative with Holmes Financial, Bertha Fisher and Company. Mr. Boyea, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I want to get one more disclosure out. I know I hit you guys with the last one. I know you guys are just wanting more. So here goes the next one. I mentioned we help people with estate planning and tax strategies. Now, at Holmes Financial, we are not in the business of giving tax or legal advice. That is not to say that we will not make recommendations that may benefit your overall tax and estate plan. But before implementing any recommendation, I advise, and we at Holmes Financial advise you to consult with your CPA, tax, and estate planning attorney. I would also like to say there are risks involved with investing, which include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risk and possible consequences prior to making an investment decision.
Those are very valuable disclosures and disclaimers. Thank you for sharing that. There's always risk involved in investing, and we want to make sure we do our own due diligence as we listen to the information and advice and suggestions that are offered on the show. And so, Payton, we were talking previously before we went on break about your grandfather and how he had left your family in a very good position. And generational wealth, it sounds great, and everyone wants to create generational wealth. But is it realistic, and where would someone begin?
Yeah, no, I definitely would say it's realistic. Like I alluded to before, my grandfather wasn't a CEO of a company. He wasn't making a ton of money. And when I say generational wealth, he didn't make us, we're not rich, but he started that ball rolling to how many people leave behind nothing and start from scratch?
Yeah.
But now he started a ball rolling that I can continue for my children, my parents can continue for me, and so on. So he started that seed, and anyone can start that. It just comes down to having a plan. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier to make it where you want to go when you have a plan.
Right. And that's where reaching out to you and scheduling time to chat with you is going to come in handy for our listeners, right?
That's right. And if you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to give me a call. My phone number is 916-271-1974. That's 916-271-1974. Or you can reach me by email at Payton. That's Payton with an A. AYTON at Holmes, HOLMES, Fin, as short for financial, Feel
And
free to reach out to me and we can schedule a free consultation. You mentioned you heard me on this show.
yeah, and shoot him a text really quickly while you're watching or listening on the show and ask him to get back with you. I'm assuming that was your cell phone.
That's my cell phone,
Do
so
you
I
receive
cannot.
text messages?
I can't text any information around financial advice, but you can text and say hello.
Text him, say hello, and that you want to set up a time to chat with him.
Okay.
Can they do that?
That we can do. I
Okay.
believe.
Okay. He is cloaked in disclosure protection, you all. So we got to be very careful with what you can and can't do. But this is just how valuable this information is. And we want to make sure that we get this information out to you all and make him accessible so that you can take the time to have the conversation to start mapping out a plan so that you can potentially have financial success, right? Start generational wealth building.
That's it. It all starts with you.
That's right. That's right. So, your grandfather, share with us for, let's see, how do you advise someone to create generational wealth? We know that we said it starts with them having the conversation, but what other steps can they take?
So, as far as advice, it should all be custom fit to that individual. But some general things that I think make sense is home ownership. That's a great place to start. Is home ownership. That's an asset that's going to increase in value in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you're going to be able to pass. If you have a trust, if you're a homeowner, I gotta say, put that house in a trust
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to avoid probate tax and it's going to be more that's going to leave behind.
Now, when you say that, let's just clarify so that everyone listening exactly what that means, because sometimes people will say, I wrote up a will
Yeah.
to leave my house to someone. What's the difference between having a will and a trust, just in general terms?
Okay. Just remember my disclosure
Yes.
about not being an attorney.
Yes.
But so a will is always subject to probate.
Mhm.
A will is going to tell you what you want your assets, what you want to do with your assets.
Mhm.
It's still subject to probate and probate costs.
And what that means is that the state will get the final say so in whether or not your house will go to the person that you willed it to, or what will happen with your assets.
And they're going to take a portion of your assets to pay the attorneys
in the process.
in the process, exactly.
Versus a trust.
Versus a trust, which avoids probate because you have instructions in the trust on what you're going to do with your assets.
And you need to speak with an attorney to form the trust.
Yeah, don't call me.
So that's great. So we had a couple of questions that we wanted to get to online with people who are watching. And Larry Chu is asking, are deferred compensation programs good to join?
So I say deferred compensation programs are some of the best places to keep your assets. Not because they get the best return, but it's I'd say, from my experience, it's the easiest place to put money away. You don't see it, you don't miss it. So your employer will take that portion of your income, whatever it will be, and set it aside for you in investment. Are they going to get the best returns? Not necessarily. Are they going to get better returns than you spending it? Pretty sure they are.
Awesome. Larry, I hope that answers your question. Do you deal with whole life insurance? And what about trust? So we just talked about trust. Do you deal with whole life insurance?
I do whole life insurance. It's part of my insurance license. I do that. A lot of people use whole life insurance as an investment. It can be used as an investment. Chances are there's a better way to grow your invest and grow your money, but it's right for the right person. So that is something, again, it's custom to the individual.
Okay. So I was going to go down a list of some other things that individuals can do to get their financial house in order. Do you have a little time to stay with us as I go through and kind of piggyback off these points with me?
I do. I just have to pick my kids up I got plenty of time.
Okay. Look, we don't want the wife calling the station telling you to get on the road and get the kids. So let us know when you have to go.
All right.
So one of the things that is on this list is to get your budget in shape. And so everyone, a budget maps out your expected income. And Peyton alluded to it earlier when he talked about your knowing where your money's going. And I don't know that you said every dollar has a name, but you said something like
Every
that.
dollar has a purpose.
Every dollar has a purpose.
You got to give every dollar a purpose, or it's going to purpose itself.
Yes, that part. So fixing fixed expenses like rent or mortgage and car payments, what you plan to set aside for savings, and what's available for everything else that you may want can help you stay on track toward your financial goals. If you don't already have a budget, this time right now, this moment is a great time to start. It's never too late. If you're already using a budget, an annual tune-up will help you make sure that it stays current. For me, it pops up. I have a bank account at Bank of America, and they have a tracking program for your budget. You can actually create a budget, and it ties in all of your expenses. If you use your card, it will review your purchases and categorize them. And it'll show you at the end of every month that literally, actually, as you go, where your spending is happening. And so it helped me to realize that I was eating out a lot. If I look at it now, it's probably going to tell me I'm using an excessive amount of money on gas,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But do you have any recommendations for how people should set up or strategize budgeting?
Okay, so that's actually a service I do complimentary for anyone who comes to my office or sit down and do a budget. I use the Mint app. Mint's an awesome app. It's through Intuit planning software. They don't pay me to say this. It's a great app. Les uses a spreadsheet. He's a little more old school than me, but it does the same thing.
Yeah.
It categorizes your spending, and when you do that, you see, wow, you told me this was your values, but your budget says something different.
Right.
What's the scripture say? Where man's spending is, his heart is.
There his money is. Where your money is, where your heart is. Your heart is where y'all know.
Yeah, y'all know, but it's in the scripture.
Yes.
And sometimes it just takes a reality check time to sit
Yeah.
back and look at it. I had a client come in the office the other day. He thought he was spending
Money
literally
somewhere else.
$2,000 less than he was actually spending in reality
Wow.
a month. And if you don't look at it, if you don't look at your spending and see where it's going, it's just going to
You
be
can't
gone.
fix it. Yeah.
Just
You're going to keep
gone.
going through the same financial cycle unless you take the time to look at it. So you not only do you have to have a vision, but then if we're going to reference the word, which we should, the Bible also says, write the vision and make it plain, and that you've got a plan. So you have to take the time to just stop and assess how that money is going out. We've got to be good stewards of our money. And at this juncture, I actually want to point out a couple of other things. You mentioned the Mint app, and I used to use that. So it's very good. So if you go to MINT, Mint, like peppermint, mint.com, or download the Mint app in the App Store, that's a great tool to help you start your budgeting. Two other things that I want to share with regard to getting your budget in shape is, as we think about, and Peyton had mentioned this earlier, start thinking about what you want your money to go towards. And because this show is called Selling Sacramento, and because Peyton has mentioned it not once, not twice, but 3 times at least, home ownership is something you should definitely be preparing for. It's one of the quickest ways to help you get that financial foundation solid. And so at 2:00 today, Blue Water Credit is having a training. Your credit and having money ready for down payment assistance and closing costs are 2 huge obstacles for us when it comes to home ownership. So we always want to share all of the resources that we have. I want to send you that information. Oh, remember when I said at the beginning of the show there was something else that I wanted to say and I forgot what it was because I didn't write it down? Anyone who asked for the link to the down payment assistance programs last week, check your email. It was sent to all of you last night. So if you emailed me at agentkee007, agent key 007 at gmail.com, if you emailed me and requested the link for down payment assistance programs, you received it last night. And if you'd like it, email me and ask for the down payment assistance program link, and I'll send it to you. When you get the link, it will open up to a form that will ask you very specific questions about your situation financially, and then it will generate the down payment assistance programs that you could qualify for based on the information that you put in there. The Blue Water Credit Training is taking place today. It's called the Advanced Credit Training and New Medical Collection Update. Email me at that same email address and ask for the link. I'll send it to you. It's today at 2 p.m. There's a Zoom meeting link. And because it's at 2 p.m., you probably want to email me really quickly, because when this show is over, that event starts. But I'll be sure to check my email right away and shoot this information off to you. That's something else that you want to do. You need to know your credit score. The other thing is there is a homeownership training that I am honored to say that I was asked to be a part of. And it's through the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Sacramento chapter. And it's called A Path to Hope, a plan for first-time homeownership. It's a virtual event May 14th from 11 to 12:30 p.m. So if you, again, email me and I'll just send you all this information. How about that? But I wanted to make sure that you all were aware that that's out there. And that is in preparation of budgeting, because if you know you need to work on your credit score, there may be some money that you need to throw at certain issues on your credit report so that you can start amending that. You got to find the money by budgeting to make that happen. And you might need to make some sacrifices to make it better in the long run. Same thing with housing. Even though there are down payment assistance programs, you may not need to come in with $20,000 or $30,000, but you might need to come in with $500 or $2,000. So you need to find that money in your budget in advance, and taking these types of courses will help you to do that. Did you want to add to that?
No, I just completely agree. When you have a goal in mind, I'm sure you guys have had something you wanted to buy, and you find money
find that money
to spend it, and the down payment works the same way. Are you giving announcements? I'd like to give an announcement.
Absolutely, yes.
I've been asked to be a host of a real estate investors panel. Like, I'm an investment advisor. Clients come with me all the time looking for different ways to invest. I'm not in real estate, but everyone wants to. Real estate's a great asset class, and there's so many different ways to earn income through real estate. So I've invited a few guests out to a panel. They've asked me to be the host of it. This is called the Real Estate Investors Panel. It's May 12th. That's Thursday of next week at 6 p.m. The address is 3620 Fair Oaks Boulevard, suite number 300. I'll leave you the flyer to share.
Yes. So if you all email me and ask me, or if you ask me in the chat, I will, all of this information, all of these events that we're sharing, I'll email it back to you. I will post it on the chat so that y'all can hear. These are opportunities to gain the information that you need to change the trajectory of your financial status. Would you agree?
Amen.
Amen. The other thing is leveraging technology to automate your savings. Whether it's an app or a desktop program, there are many programs and technological tools that can help you automate your savings and spending plans. Automating these processes mean you don't have to remember it every time, and that by itself can increase your chances of success. Do you have any of your spending on automation?
Yeah, I do, for like everything I pay.
All your bills.
All my bills get automation.
And
then, it's so much easier to pay things. I always say, like, pay yourself first. So as soon as money comes in, put that money aside. When you have a budget, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because you know what you need to survive.
Exactly.
And everything else above and beyond that is discretionary.
Yeah. As soon as my paycheck hits my account, the very first thing I do, our church has, we can give through automated paying.
Give
There's
me
a
some
system
depth
called
on that. I'm the same
Shelby.
way. That's time.
It's called Shelby. And so I've got the number right in my phone. And as soon as it hits, I literally just type in the amount that I'm going to give. And it says, thank you for giving. But I do it like clockwork. That's the very first thing that comes out of my check. And then everything else is automated. There's money that Robinhood pulls into my investment account. There's money that gets taken away from my bills. And there's money that goes into a savings. And with everything being on autopilot, and this is not like I've not been doing this for years. I'm brand new to being right, y'all, with my finances. I'm way brand new. Let me just say that. But I feel so much lighter.
Yeah, it's paying yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, your future self will thank you for it
Yeah.
once you get there.
Automate those savings, y'all. Plan out your goals and get a budget buddy. Simply saying you want to save more money. Take the time to differentiate your short, medium, and long-term goals to help keep you focused. Think of your budgeting process as a long-term exercise program. Improving your finances is a long-term commitment. So partnering with someone else who's on the same journey may help make it easier for some of you. You might need a buddy, right?
It makes the biggest difference. At the beginning of the year, all my planning clients, I meet with them quarterly. At the beginning of the year, I ask what is it they value most of my services so I can continue to provide it. And like the overwhelming majority, they said two things. First, they said my network, because people like you, professionals like you, can help in different areas that I don't expertise in. And secondly, was the accountability. The fact that hey, you told me this is your goal. All I'm gonna do is hold you accountable to what you said was important to me.
Right.
It makes a big difference.
It is so huge. It really is, especially if the person who's holding you accountable is at a level or a status where you want to be, or it's somebody who's an officer or an official in that position. Then you kind of feel like compelled. I gotta do it. You know?
Imagine working for less homes.
Exactly. The standard, the bar has been set, but that's a blessing. And review your investment mix. Are your investments still in line with your goals and risk tolerances? Changes in the values of your stocks and bonds and holdings over the years may have moved the relative weights away from what best meets your needs. For example, if the stock market had a good year, the percentage of your investments in stocks may have drifted upward from what you see as the right proportion of stock market risk. Not the kickoff of this year. The kickoff of this year was a good time to review the mix. You can review your mix still right now, though, and have a discussion with your CPA or with someone like Payton.
I'd like to touch on that because a lot of people don't know what you're saying or what that means, but that's so important. Is rebalancing those portfolios, like at least quarterly is kind of what I advise. Rebalance your portfolios quarterly. So if you have a portfolio, let's just use the easy one, 50-50, 50 stock, 50 bond, and stock takes off, next year your portfolio is not going to be 50% stock, 50% bond. So it's no longer aligned with your risk tolerance. And now you have a stock-heavy portfolio. Guess what happens when stocks take a dip next year? So it's really important to look at that and be active, be there and be part of your finances. Don't just sit there and forget it.
Right.
At least look at it.
Take a look at it. And just to kind of back up even a little further, when we use the word portfolio, it's just a term for your bag of investments, the different types of investment vehicles that there are, whether you invest in stocks or bonds or real estate, whatever it is, that all makes up your financial portfolio. And so when we use the term portfolio, that's what we're referring to. And call Payton, y'all. Call Payton. Review your retirement plan contributions. So that's another thing that sometimes we set and forget. And we even move from employer to employer. If you're listening now and you've changed jobs, and maybe you forgot that you had a retirement plan with that job that you left, you might want to go research that and make sure that you reinvest that if you need to, or just check on it, see how it's doing.
Yeah, give me a call. We can roll those over into an individual retirement account, one that you own, where you can really have those investments aligned a lot better with your goals. If you have those 401ks from your previous employer, or you've retired recently and you have a pot of money and you don't know how you can turn this money into income, that's what we do. So give me a call, give Les a call, 916-271-1974. I'd love to talk with you guys. Make sure you heard me on this show, and the consultation is free.
Awesome. Before we take a break, the last one is review your beneficiaries. That is huge, you all. I was going through my life insurance policy. What was I doing? I was changing the address, and I realized that I hadn't put my son as 50% on one of my policies. And I had just done my daughter, and I remembered what had happened. I forgot I didn't have his social security number. So I was like, oh, let me go find it. And then I forgot to go do it. I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Let me add him. And so it's important to review those, kind of put them in a reminder or something. You know how you remind yourself to change the batteries in your smoke alarm or whatever? You should probably set up some kind of a reminder on your calendar, if that's what you use, to review your beneficiaries on a regular basis. If you've divorced and you're not with that wife anymore, or that husband, and you've moved on.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And they're the beneficiary.
That happens a lot. You want to, and always add a beneficiary, especially if you're a homeowner, because when you're a homeowner, your estate's automatically probate. It's subject to probate. So if you have those assets without beneficiaries, that is part of your estate. It's also subject to probate.
Find someone that you can give to. You can't take it with you, y'all. Find someone that you can give it to. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go over some real estate information before you and some current market news. Stay tuned. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Woo! We got through it all.
That was fun.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
You said something that made me think, oh, shoot, I need to call Payton. Whole life insurance.
Yeah.
Because I think right now I have a term life policy. And when I turn 60 something, like it's going to.
Lots.
No, it's going to, the payment's going to go
you got
up.
Universal life.
Is that what it looks? See,
Yeah.
so I need to go over what it, all I know is that payment ain't cute.
Yeah.
So I need to look at some other options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you about
Okay. Okay. Look, I'm like, look. Thank you so much for hanging in.
Thank you so much for having
Go
me.
get them kids. Don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
We want to be able to have you back.
It's a lot of fun.
Y'all have any other questions for Payton before he takes off? Oh, wait. What is Monica saying? Oh, is that Maurice? Oh, we already got that. Thanks for sharing. Okay. I didn't have my glasses on. All right, y'all. Say bye to Payton.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, Miss Ann. How are you doing? Did you have a question?
How's yours take for it?
I was there. You know what? I texted him yesterday and he didn't respond. So I'm
Treat my buddy here, okay?
He is huffing and puffing. Ask Ange. Girl.
He said
He's
you guys
screaming
always
child
beat him
abuse.
up.
Man.
We got company.
That's
He's
all they
screaming
do.
child abuse.
Take care, guys.
That's all they do, man. And man, I'm gonna come get some boxing lessons from you.
So I need to call him because I just realized he didn't respond back. Thanks, Ange.
Thanks, Ange.
Because I'm gonna tell you, Jay's calendar for May is tied up.
Yeah.
He's leaving out of town for his daughter's graduation, and then
Oh, she's going to college.
yeah, and then June. He said we're gonna spend a lot of time in
LA.
Get that together, so I need to get us focused
Back on
for stuff that's here.
before he takes off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once he start going to LA, it's gonna be really, really hard to. Because I keep trying to tie him down now to tell me when are you thinking about how often you want to go to LA.
Okay.
He's just coming outside
This is him away.
to adjustment. He told me he needs to come.
So I'm actually going to have a booth space.
What you gonna sell?
Sacramento.
Okay.
What else?
Information.
It was just a
It's a fun.
question.
Liberty Mutual actually I'm putting for a boost.
Oh,
I was
nice.
really surprised.
So is it possible for me to get a space as close as possible to the music?
I have a map where, because we don't know how many people, because people got to sit out there with their chair and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of cleared enough where I
Around
did
the side?
sides and stuff.
If you can
So
get me
the-
close to the side, I just want to be
Probably
able to
spot.
see and, see the stage. Oh, we're back on air.
One.
Hey, everyone. We're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. And we just completed talking about get your financial house in order. I only have about 10 minutes left.
No.
8 minutes left. Okay, I've got a
Really?
short amount of time left, but I want to share with you all some very important movements that have just happened in real estate that you all should be aware of. The feds have increased rates by, I believe, a whole half a point, not a half a percent, half a point. Let me make sure I've got that right. In other words, what that means is that we are going to see what they're trying to do is curb the crazy spending that's going on. And it's a good thing. And it's a hold on to your seats kind of thing. We will get through it. We will get through it. I want to read an article that just came out that talks about the market not crashing, but rather us having a soft landing. They're talking about a correction could be around the corner. The reason I'm reading this to you is because it affirms what we talk about here on the show. This is not new to you. If you listen to this show, it's not new to you. But what you are getting a whiff of is how the rest of the country, the rest of the state is catching on to what we've been talking about. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. Here we go. Talk of a likely housing bubble has intensified amid surging housing costs. As buyers grapple with rising rates and home prices, demand has begun to wane. Speculation around a possible housing bubble has taken full bloom this spring home buying season, and talks of bubbles inevitably lead us to the question of whether or not the bubble will pop with a crash or more gently ease back to earth in a modest correction. As the Federal Reserve's decision to raise interest rates from their near zero levels propels mortgage rates to a 12-year high, it puts additional pressure on housing costs. With housing affordability still sitting at a decade low amount, the home buying frenzy that rocked the real estate market is beginning to fizzle. And that means a larger shift is looming. While springtime is typically the busiest home buying season, the upswing in rates has caused some volatility in demand. It continues to be a seller's market, but buyers who remain interested in purchasing a home may find that competition has moderately softened. I can attest to that. Just this past week, I got 2 buyers in escrow. We are very thankful, but they were very strong offers. Don't be fooled. They had some very tough dogs in the fight. While springtime, I just read that. As home buyer demands wane, either one of 2 things can come next: a correction or a crash. The former would entail a gradual drop in prices to more sustainable levels, whereas the latter would result from either a rapid drop in prices triggered by widespread or a wave of foreclosures. However, with homeowners leveraging more than $3.2 trillion in home equity and mortgage lenders enforcing strict standards, it's unlikely the real estate market is heading towards a crash, especially the likes of 2008. In layman's terms, there's way too much equity in homes for people to foreclose. If you paid $200,000 for your home, and today you have a home worth $300,000, you have $100,000 in equity. If you miss 3 payments and the bank tries to foreclose, you have $100,000 in equity. You don't walk away from that home. You sell that home, right? That's not rocket science. And the majority of people who own homes within the past 5 to 10 years have seen equity gains that are record breaking. 10, 15, 20% equity gains in just a matter of a couple of years. So missing 2 or 3 mortgage payments should not instill fear for you to foreclose. What it should do, what your first thought should be to call your lender and work out a repayment program so you can keep the home somehow. The second thought process, if you can't do that and you absolutely have no other alternatives, then you sell. If you can't hold on to it, you sell. do not walk away from your home, right? So this isn't the housing market of 2008. The COVID-19 housing market is drawing many comparisons to the real estate market of the mid-2000s, but the two periods couldn't be more different. And we've talked about that before. This is not the same market as 2008. The housing bubble that led up to 2008 was attributed to a combination of cheap debt, predatory lending practices, and complex financial engineering that resulted in many borrowers being placed in mortgages that they could not afford. If you are in a home today, you deserve to be there because that lender checked, double checked, and triple checked whether or not you really were qualified to purchase that home. And so if you fall into an economic situation where you cannot afford to keep your home, not only should you reach out to your lender to come up with some type of repayment program or mitigation program so that you can keep your home, but the state of California actually has a program out now, a grant of up to $80,000 to help you stay in your home. Free money. Grant means you don't have to pay it back. So Google that. If you're a homeowner and you're listening and you're facing a mortgage crisis and you need to pay back owed money on your mortgage, Google California mortgage grant program. If you need that information, if you're unable to find it and you want it directly from me, shoot me an email, agentkey007@gmail.com, agentkee007@gmail.com, and ask me for the mortgage relief program information, and I'll shoot it over to you. Stay in your home. Keep your home. The real estate market is bracing for a soft landing. As home buyer demand falls, the real estate market is approaching a slowdown. According to the Census Bureau, U.S. new home sales have declined every month in 2022, and in March, they fell to a 4-month low, highlighting the impact soaring borrowing costs are having on potential buyers. Buyers are leaving the market. So that's the strategy behind the rising interest rates. If it becomes too high to buy, buyers will leave the market, causing sellers to do what? Lower the price of the home. Higher mortgage rates, along with the really strong home price appreciation, creates affordability challenges for many home buyers, and that's going to slow the market down. We already have a slowdown in both home sales and the rate of home price appreciation. So that is some news that I felt you can use. As the real estate market cools, the fundamentals that supported its growth, like record high home prices and home equity, are likely to keep it relatively healthy. This could mean a correction rather than a crash is on the horizon. And that is my time, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make one more announcement before I go. Just a reminder that NAN Sacramento Moving Forward Conference Session 1, Let's Talk Black Education with Dr. Margaret Fortune, her live podcast and ESPN 1320 radio show with special guest, ex-Pittsburgh Steelers safety Robert Golden, is Friday, May 6th at 1:30 p.m. And Session 2, as part of the Sacramento Moving Forward Conference of NAN, is What Black Voters Think, their virtual panel, also Friday, May 6th at 3:45. Register online at nansacramento.org, N-A-N, N as in Nancy, A as in Alice, N as in Nancy, sacramento.org. And remember, y'all, if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top. Bye now.
Don't shoot me, man.
No, thank you for pointing that back out because I almost exited stage left.
I didn't know who they would have been looking for.
Exactly. No, they would have been looking for you to make sure you got it right on your show. Since she didn't get it right on her show, you better get it right on yours.
Yeah, well, that's why I put it back up there because I forget.
Okay, everybody, I got to go meet a buyer, do a walkthrough at her newly accepted offer. See y'all later. Have a great weekend and stay cool out there.